Yes. What's up, OA Cheddar Group? Merry Christmas. Merry New Year. Hope you're blessed. Hope you had a great time with your family. I'm excited for our last live broadcast of the year. So I am Gabe Strom. If we had a bunch of new people joining the group recently, gentlemen, let me hide this here. So I am Gabe Strom. If you are just joining the group recently, I'm joined by seven-figure Amazon seller Grant Dunn and his smart younger brother, Taylor Dunn. I was trying to think of something witty, man. Both y'all gentlemen are tuning in from the new Cheddar HQ. You guys just moved into a brand new office. Yeah. OA Cheddar's growing up. You guys have been a home-based business for 4 years on Amazon now, and I know you've been in other home-based businesses before that. But first, Grant Dunn, how you doing, brother?
Doing good, man. Excited about the new year. Excited about the new office and more square footage. And yeah, I'm doing great, man. It's exciting to get in front of the group and talk about what happened and what we're planning on for the future and stuff. So
yes, man. So I will, I am too, man. And I want to edify you and Taylor. And then here's our agenda for today, guys. We want to talk very quickly. Our goal, we're going to shoot for 45 minutes, y'all, just to be, but you guys ask questions. We're here to hang out. We're here to support you. So our goal for today is what worked for Q4. Let me do this here. Okay, Q4 is this crazy tidal wave that happens every year. Grant and Taylor, you guys have had your 4th year. So what worked this year? What didn't work? We saw some major changes, specifically with products that has Amazon on the listing. So Grant's going to talk about this. This is a suspicion he had last year, but he has some facts confirmed this year. And then 3, we're going to talk about the future. Okay, what's happening next? What's the game plan moving forward? How do you shift and pivot from this Q4? So whether you Chivit, whether you had your make your first $100,000 on Amazon this Q4, I know there are several in the group, probably 4 or 5 that have been beyond that milestone, or you made your first $1. We want to celebrate the wins, talk about what worked, and that's all you can do as an entrepreneur is learn from your mistakes. So there's a lot of that happened this year. But before we get into that, I got to edify Taylor Dunn over there on my left over there. It'd be cool if I could go to the screen and pop out to the side. Maybe someday. Taylor Dunn, if you guys aren't familiar with Taylor, Grant's younger brother, but also Taylor manages and runs all the Cheddar leads. So if you guys get the list, he reviews the leads before they come out. And a lot of times when you guys message support, you're talking with Taylor or Grant or Cindy or myself. We're actually all in there still currently. So Taylor does a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys don't see. Of course, you see him in our YouTube videos. So T Diddy, as I refer to you, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So, hey, if y'all are watching live, a lot of you guys are watching live, some are watching the replay, comment below where you're from. I always love to see where you guys are from, and it's always good to connect with other sellers in your area. So go ahead and jump in. I see a bunch of you guys are commenting, and for some reason, Be Live. Okay, if I go over here to Facebook, I can see your comments. For some reason on Be Live, Grant, I still see they've got a glitch in the system. I can't see who's commenting, but I see Gary Ray in the house. What's up, Gary? Randy James, James Whelan on his bike, got a store over 110K a month now. So Randy, I'll have to talk to you about that. I'm curious what you're doing. Kim, Happy New Year, Kim. I know you've been going through a rough season. Glad to have you here. Raj Snyder, hello guys. Looking forward to what you have to share. Narav from Raleigh, North Carolina. So very cool, guys. So go ahead and comment below. I'll be in the chats as we go through this. But Grant, are you ready to rock and roll, man? Talk about some of the wins we've had this year?
Yes, I am. I'm just going to adjust my camera again here. I'm using an external camera here, so it's a little different situation. I got to make sure I got the right angle here. Okay, there we go.
We're upgrading our technology, folks. So here, let's get into the content, man. I want to start off. Sweet. So this is our Cheddar Q4 recap video. I want to start off, man, with what worked. There's always, in entrepreneurship, there's always things that work. There's always things that didn't work. And I have found that to be successful. It's very helpful to start off by celebrating the victories and the wins, the things that worked in the business. So what did you guys see, man? Q4, this is y'all's 4th Q4. First off, let me do this, Grant. Let me ask you about your stats before we get into the work stuff, just to give some perspective. So what did you guys end up selling this peak season?
Okay, so during the Q4, we sold $400,000. 400,149. So that's from October 1st through today, basically. And then for the year in total, we sold 1,168,000 and some change.
Okay.
My goal was 1.2 million. So we're really close to hitting the goal for the year.
So I appreciate you sharing that. I'm asking on a high level so that people can compare, because that either is going to sound like a really big number for some people, or for some people that's going to sound like a small number. So whatever camp you're in, comparison is the thief of joy, says in scripture. So this isn't to say, look how awesome Grant is. The point is to learn from each other. So I ask all of you guys on the call, just empty your cup out, okay, what you think you know, and humble yourself. And that's where the beginning of wisdom comes from. So to recap, Grant, so 400 grand, north of 400 grand. Now, is that peak season? Is that just in December?
That's October through December. So it's actually 3 total months. I want to say my goal for November and December was to do 300 grand. And we're going to land right on that, probably just a little over it, but I'd have to double check. That's one thing I didn't double check. But we're over 150 in December, and we were under 150 in November.
Okay. Very cool. And I'm going to grab, you shared some screenshots. So if it's okay with you, do you mind if I just share those with the group?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll do that. While
Drop it in the comments, maybe.
But let me ask this, because I got to focus on that. Unless Taylor, do you have those screenshots handy?
Of the December sales, November sales?
Yeah, Grant, the ones you sent me, do you have those? Here, I'll post them. Let me ask this again, to clarify, Grant. I'll go ahead and post those. Okay. So y'all fell just shy. Your goal for the year is 1.2 million. And to put that in comparison, what did you sell last year? Like, what was your year-over-year growth?
I want to say last year we fell just short of $1 million. It was like 950,000 ish. So another $250,000 or so, maybe 200,000 more than last year. We're still, just for full transparency, because I'm not afraid to talk about it. We still, we're actually. We're trying to grow differently this year. I mean, last year, the long story, I'm trying to not get into a long spiel, but basically, you guys, let me put it this way, right? Debt on a business can be very, very challenging, right? Debt on a business can be very, very challenging. And some people who've worked with me over the years and have heard the full story understand that I got myself into a lot of debt early when I didn't understand my business, didn't understand my numbers. And so in light of understanding, I don't want people to think that your growth could be restricted by 20% or 25% over a year. It can be a lot bigger. Part of the reason that I think our growth has been restricted, especially over the last really 24 months, is because we've been dealing with debt. A lot of our money is paying down debt. We're kind of on a debt payoff mission. And so trying to scale a business when you have a very hefty debt bill it is really, really hard. It simply is. It's very hard. And so that's one of the things I actually wanted to talk about for this year. And I don't want to get into it necessarily in depth right now, but if I could give anybody one piece of advice moving into 2019, I know you didn't ask this yet, Gabe, but that piece of advice would be know your numbers, right? And it's crazy, but in 5 years, year after year, I continue to learn more and more about how to understand my business and understand my numbers. And I think we have a pretty good handle on it now. But those early years of really not understanding what our business was doing, not understanding what we were demanding from our business in terms of, paying our own personal bills and stuff, and understanding what our business was truly making, just not really being able to connect all those dots, resulted in me acquiring more and more debt over the years. Or over those first 3 years, really. And now we're kind of, to be completely frank, it got to the point where we were up against a wall. It was like completely make some major changes in your business and rebuild, or this whole thing's going to come crashing down. And so I was kind of building my business on a house of debt. And I'm not saying that debt is bad, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't use debt, intelligently in your business, but you can also be very unstrategic and make some huge mistakes. And I just want to make sure that, I throw that out there because, again, when you have a debt bill and you want to put profit in your business, that's how you scale, right? You scale by taking profit and pouring it into your business. Well, when you have just full transparency, we pay $5,000 a month in debt right now. That's our debt service. Well, that's two employees. Right, for me, that's a shipper and an OA buyer, for example, or a shipper and an RA buyer. So I'm very restricted in how I can grow my business, and I want everybody to understand that, because I think it's a great lesson that I've had to learn. It's actually probably I'm getting chills because it's probably the most challenging, heartbreaking at times, frustrating, irritating, saddening thing that I've gone through to see a business that I believe can explode, but doesn't have that freedom to explode because of a debt issue. And so I want to throw that out there because I just feel like I don't want people to go through what I had to go through over the last few years. So it's been a challenge, but we're rising above it. We have an awesome game plan for 2019. Super excited about that, and we're going to be talking about that today. So
yeah. Well, you kind of went to the second part of what didn't work. So I wanted to save that to talk about that. But thanks for being transparent. I know you're passionate about this because you really care about people and you want to see people succeed. And so there's truly two paths, to do financing, to grow your business, or to not. I guess there's a hybrid of that too. It's a big controversy. So I'll have to ask you about that. Just to I want to ask this, and then I'll come back to this. What you mentioned your debt service. What did you guys borrow to scale, and when did you borrow that?
Yeah, so from day one, like when I started my Amazon business, I had zero money, right? Okay. And so we started with credit cards then. Of course, I had a lot less access to capital at that point because my business was brand new. But I literally, I would. As I was going through and learning the business, I acquired Inventory Lab. After a year of running my business, I got Inventory Lab set up. It's like, well, of course I didn't know what was going on in my business if I wasn't using an inventory management system. So that first year was just the beginning of a snowball, right, issue of me not understanding. So I was borrowing in the first year. I was borrowing in the second year. By my third year, I was using Amazon lending. The biggest Amazon loan I ever pulled was $148,000. And that when I did that in 2016, late 2016, at that point, I was able to take that loan and consolidate all my other debts. So that kind of gives you an idea of where I was at with debt at that point. And it actually, at the peak of it, it was pretty extensive. Granted, a lot of that debt has always been tied up into inventory, but attached to the debt. And this is where I would say debt can be, like you said, it's controversial. Where is debt useful? Well, when you can allocate or when you can reconcile your debt to inventory, right? Inventory buy cost, then you know that you're not digging yourself in a hole. You know that debt can be reconciled against some asset, right? You can attach it to an asset as an inventory. But if you've got $200,000 of debt and $100,000 of inventory, well, the way I look at that is you have $100,000 of bad debt that you have to earn back in profits to pay back. You couldn't liquidate your business and pay down your debt. And I think that's where, like, if you can't exit and pay off all the debt that you have acquired, you're in a bad spot, right? And you need to focus on moving out of that section. So what I like to do, and on a regular basis, and this is what I do now, probably every 3 months or so, I like to go through, and it's kind of like coming up with a balance sheet. Right. And if you're using QuickBooks, you'll have this, but go through and figure, okay, what are all my debts? How much money do I owe who? All right, what's that total? Most of that should be inventory for the most part, unless you're using it to pay for other things. That's where it becomes a problem. And then you go into your inventory or in your Amazon system, be like, okay, well, what do I have inbound buy cost? What do I have in stock buy cost? What do I have in my payout right now? What do I have in inventory in my garage? What do I have in cash on hand? Okay, that's my asset. Now, how does my assets compare to my debt, right? And when the debt number is a lot bigger than the assets, it's an issue, okay? You're losing money and you don't know your business, or you know what's happening and there's nothing, you're hopefully moving in the direction of fixing it. Yeah. So that's what happened to me is I finally realized, oh my Lord, when I started this business, I might've had $20,000 of credit card debt. Now I have, at some point I might've had $80,000 of credit card debt, but I could only reconcile that debt with maybe $60,000 of asset, or not 60, but maybe $40,000 of assets. I knew I was going into a hole a little bit. Now, granted, my situation, you guys, so you understand the backstory real quick, is my wife and I had goals and aspirations that we needed before our business could afford it. And we needed it and we wanted it bad enough. And so we made some pretty big, reckless, like quit our job decisions because we wanted to create, and granted, I don't regret any of those decisions, but some of those demands that we put on our business are the reasons why our business got into the situation that it was in and that it's in today. And we're still, digging ourselves out. Yeah. So, and I mean that by we had a son. Ashley didn't want to go back to work. She wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. Well, I'm gonna figure that out, right? I went to a Father's Day. A year later, I go to a Father's Day thing and realize how detached I am from being a dad, right? And I'm like, screw this, I'm quitting my job before I can afford it. And I did, right? So I did some pretty reckless things, some pretty like jump off the cliff, build my wings and that's what the last 2 years have been, is literally constructing my wings to not go splat, at the bottom of the cliff, right?
Yeah.
The base of and having on splat and we're actually pulling up and coming out of it, but it's been a challenge nonetheless, and it's an important topic I think that most people aren't talking about. So
yeah, let me cut you off real quick, man. Let me jump in and reel in, because there's a story obviously behind. We all have a story of why we do things and where we got to where we are. So let me circle back on this, man. I want to start this off and really I wanted to focus on Q4. So a big lesson that's coming up as you're talking, Grant, is to know thy numbers. And I think this applies to all of us. So this is a great time of year. You mentioned, Grant, it took you a year before you got Inventory Lab. In private label, we're using a new software called Seller Legend. I hadn't heard about this either, so we're using that in replacement of Inventory Lab. But whatever type of system, it's important to know. I want to come back to the debt versus no debt conversation, Grant, because that really is a whole conversation in of itself. Let me ask you about this Q4. You mentioned 1.2 in sales for the year. Real quick, what kind of net margin do you guys run on that, just for comparison? Because everyone shares their top end numbers, but what does that represent in profit for y'all?
Yeah, I can pull in my Q4 specific, but for the year in total, our profit margin after Amazon fees, before we pay anything else, our overhead expenses and payroll, was a 20.7% profit margin. Cost of
for the year. So on the 1.2, that's before you guys pay salary for you and for the team. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So before salary and taxes, and then on the Q4, so you mentioned, and then on the other, I shared the slideshow. I just looked, guys, on Facebook won't let me post the picture, so maybe after this recording, we'll post the screenshots in a kind of a summary post, Grant. But I just shared it a second ago. So your Q4 numbers, the 400 grand you guys did. I'm curious, what were your cost of goods sold? What did it take for you guys to purchase to generate that, and what was your net on the Q4 specific?
Yeah, let me go to my profit and loss real quick and pull up those dates.
So while you're doing that, the reason I'm asking, guys, and this is just to give you all kind of a benchmark. Grant's numbers aren't, he's not perfect. So he's a regular seller just like you guys. It'll give you something to compare to. So whether you've sold, I get hit up all the time by sellers. I think, some of you guys see Grant's big numbers and you think, wow, I got to be there. You got to sell your first 10,000 before you can sell your first 100,000, before you can sell your first. Right. That's just the way it goes. So, but how you do anything is how you do everything. So what your numbers look like on 10,000 can give you insight into what they'll look like at 100,000 and a million. So, Grant, I'm just curious, man, for Q4, because people see that and say, wow, that's great. What did it take for you guys to purchase?
Right.
You pull that up?
Yeah, I got this up. So I'm looking at October 1st through today. And I just ran our profit margin. Okay. Profit margin after all Amazon fees, before we pay everything else, was 18.3% on our sales for these 3 months. So 18%, a little bit lower than my year average, right? Usually my average ROI or my net margin is going to be a little higher during like back to school season and stuff like that, because we do sell a lot of clothing and shoes. And we also play in on the back to school season stuff, buy a lot of backpacks and stuff. So my margin can be a little higher in like July and August. And that's where I think it bumps the average up. But usually Q4, I will say usually during the peak season, I'm going to see a lower profit margin. And the reason why is because we're buying a lot of product that is hypothetical. Like we're looking at the data and we're assuming what it might do. And not all of that inventory is going to reach, 40 or a 50 or 100% ROI. Some of it might stay significantly low. On top of that, we also have some inventory that we break even on or take some small losses on in order to get it out of the store before the end of peak season.
Okay. Well, let me I appreciate you going to the backstory. I want to do that at the end because there's more behind the scenes. So 400,000 in sales. I just ran the math. 18.3% net, and you guys are really aggressive too. So you're a speed seller. You're all about getting stuff sold. So especially in Q4, I know you guys made some mistakes and held on to stuff too long too. And I'll ask you about that in a second. But I just ran the math. So that's a cool 72 grand of profit. So congratulations. Did you ever think 4 years ago when you were a full-time plumber, did you ever think it would be possible to make 72 grand on the internet in a 3-month period? Was that even on your radar 4 years ago?
Yeah, no. I mean, Yeah, no, not at all.
Okay. That's a rhetorical question, but I asked that because we all start from somewhere, and it's amazing. Grant and I have these conversations offline, how as you grow as an entrepreneur, the business grows. And so someday, Grant, 72 grand is going to look like a small month for you. And so that's the fun part of this business and for all of us. So, well, let me ask, man, and I asked last question on the numbers. Do you have any idea what your cost of goods sold was on that 400 grand? Like how much you guys had to purchase an inventory to generate that?
So cost of goods sold for the Q4 is $181,000.
Okay, 181 grand of product.
I checked that. Yes, and that comes to 40%.
Go ahead.
What's that? Well, I was going to say that comes 181 grand cost of goods sold. If you take the net profit or the profit after Amazon fees against that number, it comes to about a 40% ROI, which is really pretty much our average ROI for the year too. In fact, I think for the whole year, our ROI average was 48.5%, so a little lower than my average for the year.
Your average for the year is 48% ROI on all your products, and then for Q4, again, you guys are more aggressive. So a 40% ROI. I'm seeing a theme here, Grant and Taylor. A 40% ROI, an 18.3% net. So this is this sounds like our Cheddar, but what percent? I'm curious. Do you have any idea what percent of RA versus OA y'all were this Q4?
Yeah, I was just talking about that with Taylor. I mean, out of well, let me throw this number out there. For the whole year, right, of cost of goods sold was 496,000. Okay, and to give you some perspective, in the whole year, all the way up until like last week, we've spent 49,700 on OA in total. So if I took the let's just take 50,000. And divide that by the almost 500,000, so it's going to be about 10%.
10%. So you guys have been. So this is why I love our group. We can be fully authentic with you guys. There's no like secret agenda. Like Grant and I want you guys to see the inside of what it takes to build a big RA business, OA business, and move into wholesale and private label. Like that's our intention with the group. So you guys are still primarily a retail arbitrage business. And for anybody that says RA is dead, I guess here's living proof. You two, right. I keep thinking that, so y'all can keep scooping up stuff. Now, quick preview though, Grant. What are your plans? And I want to come back to this and talk about what worked for you guys in Q4. So I will camp out here, guys. And if y'all have questions for Grant and Taylor about kind of pulling out the high level pieces, as you guys can tell, and then we're going to do a little choose your own adventure live, since you guys are watching live on a Friday afternoon. So if you have questions for Grant, this is your chance for some free group coaching directly from an expert Amazon seller. So, but I want to ask Grant, I want to ask what's y'all's intention for moving forward. So you guys are still primarily RA. What's your plan for sourcing in 20? And this, we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit because we're getting into the future, but I just wanted to hit on this now. What do y'all plan on doing for the future?
Yeah, this is definitely what I'm most excited to talk about. But yeah, I'll save some of it for later. Our plan is to, well, actually, Taylor, why don't you answer that question? You kind of know what we're going to do. So why don't you?
So me and Grant were going over our numbers and why it's so important to understand your numbers. And for our situation specifically, even though RA has been the bread and butter of our business moving forward, looking back at this last year and really breaking everything down and having a better understanding, we realized that RA for the location that we're at is just expensive. Traveling, staying at hotels, gas. I mean, for where we're located in Washington State, we're traveling 2.5 hours to the nearest shopping location. And so moving forward this year, what we want to do is we're going to be doing 50% OA, 50% RA. We're still going to be focusing on the best times of the year for retail arbitrage, experience that we've gained over the last few years of doing it. So there's going to be certain seasons that we're going to be going heavy on RA and certain items. We're going to be monitoring our replenishables from the stores that we've been buying from all year round. But we really want to diversify and go and diversify into OA much more, because one of the two things that we realized this last year that really affected our business in a negative way is cost to go out and actually find the products alongside of the actual product cost of the product, but also the diversity in our store. There are some times, in some seasons of the year where on RA, we're going too deep on items. So we're going to diversify more using OA and still following the RA model, but really target in on the RA on those certain SKUs or certain times of the year, certain products that just do really well. For example, sports cleats. We do really well with sport cleats, so we're going to still continue to buy the sports cleats, but maybe we don't go as heavy on sweatshirts. Sweatshirts going around this time of year, it's time to start moving away from that. But really, we're going to dig into OA more to help our business as a whole lower the cost to actually find inventory and also diversify so we can continue to sell much more quickly.
Interesting. So I wanted to ask you, I was going to talk to you guys about this offline anyways. We might as well do this in our family chat. So why you guys have been so heavy and RA's been so good to you? Why you said, oops, hang on here. Got a mic error. Listen, we need some studio help in here. Around. There's nobody home today. My wife's at work and our baby is at grandma's house. So that's why we can do this live. Right? It's quiet. You guys, I don't, our side note, our friends without kids, I used to wonder, they're like, what do you do when you don't have children? And I'm like, I don't know. You watch Netflix or whatever. Then you have a kid. And then her and I, last night was our first night without her here. We got a pizza and watching Netflix. And I was like, is this what it used to be like? That was really awesome. Anyway, side note. Why diversify? Why is that important for, why would you guys shift into more OA? And we're really going all in on.
Oh, I lost him.
You cut out there for a second. Your video caught up to you. So why don't you go back a sentence or two, Gabe? Oh, he's frozen again. I'm going to talk because I think I know where, the question is, why diversify or why change our business model. So I am excited to talk about that. There's a couple things that are happening in our business that are kind of changing the dynamic a little bit. So first of all, our weekly budget has always been, or at least through 2018, has basically been about 10 to 11,000 per week and the reason why I know that is I look at my cost of goods sold per month, and I can see that in order to hit a certain figure of 110,000, 120,000 a month, I need to be buying, or Taylor needs to be buying at least $10,000 to $11,000 a month, or a week in inventory buy cost. What we're doing in 2019 is we're on a mission to spend $15,000 a week. So we're going to increase our weekly budget by 36%. So we're going from 11,000 average per week to a 15,000 inventory budget per week. What that'll do is, because we kind of averaged about 110,000 a month in sales through the better part of 2018. So we're expecting by increasing our inventory budget by 36%, as I said already, that if you actually look at, take 36% on top of 110,000 is 149,000 a month. We have a goal, right, in our business to make $30,000 a month profit, right? Profit after Amazon fees, right? I want 30 grand coming into my business before any other aspects of our business are considered. So the FBA business generates $30,000 a month at a 20% profit margin, like I've described to you. You guys know that our profit margin is 20%. Well, 20% of 150,000 is 30 grand. That's how I'm going to meet my goal, right? This is why, and we can break these numbers down because we do, and we can figure out these projections and decide, okay, we want to create this result. What is it going to take? And we could pretty much be spot on now. And I would say we've kind of got to this point, early 2018, where we're like, our business is very predictable. If we do this, we'll create this result. Well, that's where we're at now because we know our numbers. And again, it's going to take, if you're new, it will take a few years. It will, unless you're a numbers guy, you're already in, you've done business before. But to a guy, blue collar, go and work as a plumber to learn how to run a business. If you're that type of guy, you're probably going to take a little while to kind of figure things out. But anyway, that's why. So here's some of the benefits, right? Like Taylor said, it's expensive for us to do RA. We were looking at our books and we were spending about $1,500 a month between hotels and gas. Okay, that's what we were spending on just to go buy inventory. Well, and that was a result of Taylor doing two-day trips a week. So he would go out Monday, Tuesday, come back on Wednesday, do some Cheddar stuff, and then he's back Thursday, Friday. Well, what we're going to do is we're going to cut that in half. So he's going to go do a Monday, Tuesday trip or whatever once a week. And here's some of the benefits. That's going to cut my $1,500 per month travel expense down to about $750. It'll cut it in half. So there's some savings there. The other thing is it's going to put Taylor in an office that he's in right now for 3 days a week instead of 1 day a week. And as you guys know or can imagine, if you're only in an office 1 day a week, it's hard to grant. Taylor produces, don't get me wrong, but if I can get Taylor, three shifts in a row in the office, he's going to produce that much more because he's going to be able to focus on something for 3 days straight, right? And so with that extra time, or with that time that we're freeing up by reducing Taylor's RA job, is he's going to start doing. He'll be spending that money via OA. So the goal really will be to go out. Taylor's goal will be to go out and spend about 7,000 to 8,000 RA Monday, Tuesday, and then to come back between Wednesday and Friday and spend another 7,000, which we're still kind of building that process up in that system because that's. Can you guys imagine trying to spend $7,000 a week on just OA? It will be a challenge. While we do that, okay, I'm going to be basically building the infrastructure a little bit, and Taylor, I'll be building the infrastructure with virtual assistants and whatnot to really explore and press into wholesale so that we can take those funds, right? If we know we want a 40% ROI, okay, and we know that we don't want to have more than a 60-day supply, we can close all my wholesale accounts and just make sure that whatever we buy is going to produce a 40% ROI. We know that we're not taking funds away from RAOA, putting them into wholesale, and it have a negative impact. It should have an equal to better impact. And so it's just all strategic. We're going to try to basically strategically allocate or move arbitrage funds or arbitrage budget over to wholesale budget. And it's going to take some time. And we don't know exactly how long, but that's kind of our mission this year. Is we do want to try to, we're going to diversify with OA, like we talked about. It's going to cast a wider net, right? Because like Taylor was saying, a lot of times with RA, he'd go out week after week. We'd hit every store at least once a month, and he would be back in the store, 3-4 weeks later, and he'd have to scrape and claw to get stuff, right? Well, if I can send him to those stores every 60 days. What do you think is going to happen? It'll be that much easier for Taylor to spend money when he is out. So there's other benefits too, but that's basically, it sums it up.
Well, yeah, when we're traveling around doing our RA schedule, I'm hitting every Marshall's, for instance, in Washington at least once a month, maybe to a month and a week or whatever, which was kind of hurting us in a long way. We were still finding stuff. We're able to still spend our spending budget, but there are items that I know that I was buying too early that would have been on clearance. I've seen it happen enough now to know that we were kind of hurting ourselves that way, but we were kind of putting a fence around what was possible. Through OA Cheddar and through the knowledge that we've gained this last year, we have so much opportunity to diversify and go super wide. And that's what we're planning on doing. Like Grant was saying, the RA stores, they're going to marinate, they're going to get better. We haven't been sourcing, for like an example of Marshall's, Ross, and TJ Maxx in the last month and a half. We haven't really been sourcing. They're nearly as heavy as we do all year round. Me and Charles just got back from a 2-day RA trip, and it was very easy to spend $400 to $800 to $1,000 per store. I think we spent around $8,000 together in 2 days without really breaking a sweat. And the reason why is because we're going into these stores and here's all this product that I would have still paid full price for, but now it's on clearance. Or hey, now there's a whole bunch of Nike stuff because I haven't shopped there in a month and a half. And the way Marshalls and TJ Maxx stores work is they go off of per store. So there are some stores, that like in bigger cities that do really well, and they have a bunch of new products always coming in every day because there's a buyer for it every single day. I'm thinking of some of the big guys over in like New Jersey, where with us and our model, I don't think we were shopping enough at one particular store for them to get just a crazy amount of Nike and Under Armour. It was so spread out. So the big thing is that way we can go super wide. And there's a ton of replenishables in there.
So y'all are going wide. Can you guys hear me again?
Yes, we can.
All right, cool. Had a little glitch there with BeLive. So you guys are going wide. That's the moral of the story. You guys are, full transparency. You guys are shifting from the retail arbitrage model, which is still alive and well, into a more efficient OA model, and then allocating some of those funds into the next step into wholesale. And also, I know, Grant, you guys have started, you've got a couple PL products that you've got in the cooker too. So the challenge with this business, and I think I heard this, I want to give credit to Randy Reynolds. I think I heard this from Randy Reynolds a couple of years ago. very successful seller in our group, very quiet. You guys, there's a lot of 7-figure sellers that kind of just are in the groups, but they don't say anything. So we have a lot of respect for you. Randy said that one thing that he does, this is advice from a 7-figure seller, is each year he implements one new thing. One thing. He doesn't try and do 18 things. He tries to do one new thing. So like when I think I had an interview with Randy or chatted with him a couple years ago in 2015 or 16, and his one thing was, we're going to buy shoes this year. So that's an example. He still does very successful RAOA. And I know several other sellers. I had a conversation. This is a little plug for anybody in the retail arb game. I know sellers that do 4 or 5 million a year just doing retail arbitrage. They don't do anything else. So that business is alive and well. Don't hear us and say, oh, the sky is falling, Chicken Little, RA's dead, whatever. No, this is just Grant. You guys are making some personal decisions to move your business along, and we ask you guys to too. So I want to ask what worked, and there was a good comment from. Let me scroll back here because I got to see this. I think this was Gary Spring. I can't see. I
think it was.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gary said one of his advice: start early and talk about the program in the third quarter to start the first of Q4. So that's one thing. Every year, guys, this is my 4th Q4 too. Every year Q4 sneaks up on us, and I'm already thinking. My wife thinks I'm crazy. I'm already thinking about Q4 2019 and 2020. We've been doing a lot of 2020 visioneering with our alpha group, talking about that. So I'm already like in the future thinking the next 2 Christmases. But that's one good piece of advice is be prepared for next year and have a plan. So we talked about that at the beginning of Q4, and we'll plan to do some stuff. Let me hide this down here in the group to give you guys plenty of notice. But Grant, what else worked for you guys this year? What was the core of y'all's strategy? Let's just do this real quick. So we promised to talk about what worked, and I want to talk briefly about what didn't and some of the changes. But what were some of the big things that worked for you guys this year?
Yeah, why don't Taylor? I'm gonna have you jump out because
I'll let Taylor talk.
Okay. If I had to think of one thing that was a big eye opener for us this year, it would be Black Friday.
Yeah.
Black Friday, it kind of flipped the way that me and Grant have thought about Q4 in the past over on its head. And this was the first time that I myself, because I've only been sourcing now for about 2 years now, is that Black Friday, it kind of flipped Q4 on its head.
What do you mean by that? Flipped it on its head?
Well, we've always approached Q4, which is buy a bunch of inventory and hopefully sell it before Christmas. And last year we saw this where the prime window for a lot of that stuff that we were buying in stores was that Black Friday month or Black Friday, Cyber Monday week. And so I think me and Grant, we've kind of nailed down is all that stuff that we're preparing for, all the full price items that you're walking into a Walmart and buying toys at full price, hoping, before you'll see any data that they actually sell. The prime window to sell that is during that Black Friday, Cyber Monday week. But there's also another window that opens up from the Black Friday deals to where you can really invest a large amount of money and get a quick return before the end of the year. And so one of the things that we learned this year and that we had success with is sell that inventory quickly. Things like the Poopsies, Pomsies, even Grumblies. All these the hot toy items of the year. There was a window there in that Cyber Monday week that we could have sold and made profit on. What happened after Cyber Monday? Walmart and all these other stores caught on to what were going to be the hot selling items. The Ryan's world.
They knew before that.
They knew before
that. Yeah.
But they dropped a bunch of inventory, and they did this last year. They dropped a bunch of inventory after Cyber Monday week. People, next thing you know, the prices on Amazon were trying to be competitive with Walmart, and you lost that window. So sell early Black Friday or Cyber Monday week, and then on Black Friday take advantage of that and reinvest, and that's what you're going to be selling. Also, price off stores, places like Ross was huge this year for they had some excellent toys that you could have been buying. And selling all the way throughout closer to Christmas and really getting a good return on. So
you guys have always done well on price off stores. That's kind of been a bread and butter, Ross, TJ Maxx, Nordstrom Rack, all these places you guys do stuff. So you're saying, and Grant, we were talking about this, you guys saw peak season this year, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. When was the peak of y'all's season? When did you guys see your peak sales day?
Really right after Black Friday and especially Cyber Monday. It was like the feeling I got that week was this is too easy to sell stuff. Stuff is moving so quickly. I don't even have to be the lowest price on Amazon, and I'm moving my inventory out. And so to me, the highest point of demand on Amazon, it had to have been overall, I mean, at least the highest concentration had to have been Cyber Monday week. At least it was for me. I mean, we were doing close to, $8,000, $10,000 a day for about 10, 12 days straight right there. And some days significantly higher than 10 grand. And then I just watched, as we got, and I noticed this last year, and I did play my cards differently this year than I did last year, but I still thought that December could still bring some heat. And I just felt like all through December, the heat, the temperature went further and further down the closer we got to Christmas. I didn't see, and there was a little push right there at the end, right before, the holiday, but I just didn't see the same demand in December as I did in that last week of November. So our strategy going into next year is, if we have bought anything at full price retail, to buy at a flip, especially if Amazon's a competitor on it. If there is any marginal profit, even if it's 50 cents or even if it's a break even or make $1, whatever, we are going to take that in Cyber Monday week. We will not be waiting for December to realize the profit, because and here's the other thing we saw, and this is kind of on the negative side, right? Or what we saw Amazon do differently that I think is. Yeah, before we get into that,
let's turn a corner. We'll talk about that because that's a kind of a little segment by itself. So I want to make sure you guys get this, because Grant, you told me this offline that for the past last year, you were suspicious that Black Friday and Cyber Monday, those 2 days were the peak season selling days. This year, you guys, that was confirmed. You guys saw that. So what are you guys going to do different? Is that just buying early to be prepared for that? And then you mentioned, so this is kind of a lesson, don't be greedy. So you mentioned if there's any meat on the bone, you guys are selling everything. Like the house is on fire, everything's for sale, Black Friday, Cyber Monday. And then that whole week you saw stuff kind of tape. It was like a slow cruise, you mentioned to me offline yesterday when we talked, kind of going down towards Christmas. So so that's the trend that we saw this year. That doesn't mean that's exactly how it's going to be next year. I just know that Amazon and all the media, I mean, you guys got to imagine all the marketing in the world is in your favor. There's billions of advertising dollars that go behind us on Amazon, pushing people to Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then really that Cyber Monday week. Did you guys have steady sales kind of that whole Cyber Monday week all the way through Friday, or did you see it taper down?
Yeah, I mean, it was everything I could do. I mean, if anything, I was just pulling back the reins that whole week. Like, wow, this stuff is selling so fast. I'm not even the lowest price. Let me pull back the reins. And then there was a few things where I saw Amazon go out of stock during that week, and I thought, okay, I can make $1, or maybe it'll be better, in December. And that's the stuff that I got burned on. Where, I mean, anybody who bought some of the hot selling stuff this year knows they watched the FBA price slowly go down, and part of that was Amazon changing some things. But
so sell. Don't try and squeeze. It's not. I mean, you can gamble. There's an art and a science to Q4. I've noticed there's a little bit of a gambling involved, and that's part of the Q4 strategy. There's the buy the products at a discount from a list like Cheddar and sell it. There's that strategy, and then there's kind of the buy and hope Amazon goes out of stock and hope you can sell at a premium strategy. And a lot of sellers do very well with the second strategy, and it's a higher risk, higher return game. If you've got experience like Grant and Devin Motti and some of the others in the group who've been doing this for years, you can do well. Grant, let me ask you, man, point blank, what did you guys see? This is the what didn't work section. What did you see about listings? There's some changes we saw with listings that have Amazon on as a seller. So what did you guys see this year?
Yeah, so this is the thing that I think would be the biggest red flag for me. And how we will be a little bit more, I don't know, we're going to have to think about what we're doing a little bit more come the Q4 season next year. And the biggest thing that I saw Amazon do, it's disappointing, it's frustrating, I don't even know why they're doing it, other than they're trying to protect customers from paying too much for stuff that third-party resellers are in on. But what we saw was Amazon would maintain the buy box, right? They would keep the buy box even when they were out of stock and couldn't fulfill the orders before Christmas. So a lot of these really hot items, third-party sellers are on the listing. They're ready to ship right now. Amazon goes out of stock. They hold the buy box and they say, we can ship this to you, or we're going to be in stock on this item by December 26th. So it won't ship before Christmas. But by the way, if you want a gift right now, buy a gift card. right? Buy an Amazon gift card. Not, hey, by the way, if you still want this item before Christmas, purchase it from these other sellers. So they're not even trying to direct, customers over to the third-party offers that are available to ship right now. They're almost concealing it and preventing customers from even knowing it exists, that the opportunity to get the product before Christmas even exists, which I think is shameful. I think it's bad for the customer personally, but Amazon is trying to protect customers from getting pissed off and getting bad press, right? So what I saw, right, is here's Amazon on a $15 toy, right? Something that we bought from Walmart for $15, something that Amazon was selling for $15, and they're priced at $8.80, right? This is one example, $8.80 in the buy box saying, we can get this to you after Christmas. And then you just watch over this, the closer we got to Christmas, you watch the third-party FBA offers go further and further down because they're trying to close that gap between where Amazon's sitting in the buy box. Well, that gap just got a lot bigger. Amazon was selling at $15. Now they're just giving it away at $8, right? Okay. So that gap got bigger. And so now you're watching the FBA offers on a $15 buy cost. They're trying to get stuff out at $13, right? Just to try to get some stuff off of their store. Okay. So there's a lot of resellers right now that are stuck with a lot of inventory they'll never sell for a profit.
So I want to clarify. So if you're there's two, of the two different strategies we mentioned, buying products that are already discounted and selling them. So buying from Cheddar or other lists, that's not what we're talking about. That's bread and butter stuff that has been working for years. It'll continue to work for a long, long time with our projection. We're talking about the high risk, high reward strategy of buying products, hoping Amazon goes out of stock, or not hoping, looking through the Keepa graphs and seeing over the past couple of years historical that Amazon will go out of stock and then you'll be able to sell for a high profit. So we can't confirm that this is 100% true from Amazon. This is purely our speculation based on experience. But Grant, what you guys have seen is that Amazon is not sharing that buy box. So when they go out of stock, they're not giving it to high arbitrage sellers. So has anybody else in the group seen that or confirmed that? Because that would change. It makes sense, Grant, that Amazon's moving. They would rather sacrifice short-term sales for long-term brand equity. And so what they're saying is, and this is my suspicion, is that they don't want to see price gouging happen. And I mean, we're capitalists, and I laugh because it's kind of mean when you think about it. Like if there's a little doll, I feel guilty. I had got some sin on my heart. I got to confess to the group. A couple of years ago, I bought some dolls for cheap. They go out of stock. You raise the price, and some dad in Omaha, Nebraska's got it. And now I'm a father, so I get it. And so you buy the dang thing. I think I sold one of those. I bought them for, I don't know, man. It was like $100. I think the most I got was like $215, $218, and they shouldn't be that high. But I think what Amazon's doing is they're eliminating that. So again, we can't confirm that. Has anybody else? I'm going to look in the chats here real quick. Jamie says she's seen it as well. So I guess so we're seeing that kind of with a couple other people too. So Grant, let me ask you this, man. I want to pivot. This is a little bit. This is the big change we've seen. So that strategy may or may not be around in the future. We're going to shift our strategy. Grant, you guys mentioned you're going wide in the new year. You're getting back to basics. You guys are going to go heavy in OA. So we are investing heavy in our Cheddar systems. And I want to give you guys a little preview of what's to come. So we have big plans for our small but mighty Cheddar community, and we have plans to expand. And that includes giving you guys more access to more product leads. And we want to know what you guys would want more of. So there's a little rumor of potentially a shoe list coming to Cheddar. There's a little rumor from a little birdie of a potential clothing list coming to Cheddar. And there's some rumors of even a top tier list, a high-end Cheddar list, very exclusive, limited to a smaller amount of sellers. That's going to be primarily gated categories. So we got this idea. I think, Ralph, you might have been responsible for this idea. Nike, Under Armour, some of the big brands that a lot of beginner sellers are gated in are very lucrative, and for sellers that are ungated them. So we've had conversations about that. So I would be curious from you guys, since y'all are on live, what would you guys like to see more of Cheddar in the new year? Because we do have plans to expand. Grant, you guys talked, Grant and Taylor, you guys talked briefly about how you guys are shifting your focus. You're investing more heavy into Cheddar and into OA in the coming year. Let me circle back at the beginning. I want to do this very quickly because you opened a kind of a can of worms with the debt conversation. So I want to put a bow tie on this because it's a real thing. I think it's important that we talked about it, and then we'll talk about the future and some of the cool things coming down. Very quickly, Grant, like in 30 seconds, what advice, if you were to go back in time, you guys chose to leverage debt, and there's a conversation of good debt versus bad debt. Dave Ramsey would say no debt. That's on a consumer level. Kiyosaki would say there's such thing as good debt versus bad debt. Like if you use debt to buy an income producing piece of real estate, that would be considered good debt. If you use debt to buy a motorcycle and you got to make payments on it, it's bad debt. So one could argue that buying inventory for Amazon would be considered good debt. So this is kind of the spectrum of this conversation. Everyone's story is different, and we're not advocates for, we're all grown-ups here. You have to make your own decisions for what's right for you and your business. So what we're going to say now, disclaimer, this is not what you should do. This is just what Grant, you guys have done in your situation. In y'all's situation though, what would you do if you were to go back in time to day one starting on Amazon? What would you guys do? What would your advice be about debt to your younger self?
I mean, I think if you don't, I don't think it's a problem to use debt, right? And I think part of the problem about not knowing your numbers is you don't know how much debt you need to have enough inventory for you to create the profit that you need to pay your expenses, right? And so part of the challenge of me, assuming more debt in my business as I was moving forward was I feel like there was a lot of points where I made a decision to, okay, you know what, I got to acquire more debt because I need to have more inventory to create more profit, right? It's plain and simple. I need more debt in order to do that. That's the conversation. And the problem was I didn't understand my numbers well enough to go into enough debt soon enough, right? So I would look at my situation and go, well, I'm gonna bring in another $20,000 of inventory capital. Well, little did I know that wasn't enough. I needed maybe $40,000 to put on the Band-Aid of what was happening and to grow from there. And so I was always borrowing a little bit more, but because I didn't understand how much I needed to borrow, because I didn't understand my numbers, I was never borrowing enough. And then what would happen is I would use cost of goods sold to cover those expenses, my overhead cost. And as you know, cost of goods sold, that's your debt money, right? So you're using that to outgoing expenses that you're not paying those expenses with profit. You're paying part of it with your debt.
Sure. So I think that's a wise way to approach this conversation. I didn't know what you were going to say. I'm just asking. I'm curious for myself. So I'm asking the question. So what you're suggesting is and this is what's interesting about debt. A lot of times I look at that as a Band-Aid. Like, I don't think it's, if you look at your business and say, like you said, you guys had a story that if we can get more inventory in our store, we'll make more sales, we'll make more money. But without knowing the true numbers, so without knowing thy numbers on a core level, knowing your income statement, knowing your balance sheet, being in real-time touch, a lot of sellers, and I've been this entrepreneur for years, so I'm guilty of it too. I know what it's like to run a business and, there's more money coming in than going out. And so you think things are healthy. You got to know your numbers. So know your numbers first. Debt may or may not be the solution. You may look into your numbers and say, hey, something else is broken here. More inventory is not going to solve the problem that I have. So I would challenge that also, man, before you start any kind of business, know your numbers. And that's why we always suggest for anybody new to the business, here's my advice. If I was looking back to myself as a brand new seller, I did the same thing. I borrowed on some inventory purchase. Thankfully, I got out from most of the ones that I borrowed from the beginning. We did take a loss on some of them. If I was to give my younger self advice, I would say go into the business with the cash that you have first and find a way to make what you already have work. So this is the old prosper where you're planted, right? Let me type this out here because we're a one-man show. Okay, prosper where you're planted. So if you got a sourcing budget, start with what you have. You're going to make mistakes and you're going to learn. And the value, I heard this advice from Robert Kiyosaki in one of his books years ago. Always work to learn. Don't work for the paycheck. So if you're in this business and hey, we're all here to make money. I get it. Grant and I and Taylor, we're here to make money too. Do the business though with the mindset of what can I learn, and think of this as an investment in your education. And we're kind of going through this right now, Grant, with our private label. We just finished our first full year in private label. We have one product, 0 sales on Amazon. So we spent the year making a ton of mistakes. We're about 15,000 into the hole with inventory. I've got inventory sitting in my warehouse, and I could get upset and be like, I missed the boat with Q4. But for us, this was like a practice year. And I'm using this as an analogy of how you do PL or how you do anything is the same. And so we got an education. I told my wife, we got an MBA in a box, and it's sitting on my shelf over here. I can't show you guys because it's top secret product. But we learned so much of that process. So wherever you're at in your business, that's my advice. I would say start with what you have. Once you know your numbers and you have a good grasp on that, then you can see how debt can be helpful to advance you. And I used to be of the, I got into trouble with debt early on in my entrepreneur career, Grant. I've never shared that story, but maxed out all my credit cards in college to do a home-based business or a series of home-based businesses, and had, terrible credit for years. Praise God, by the grace of God, I've been able to, when they turn off your credit cards, this funny thing happens is on a personal level is you just start spending your cash. So they force you into the habit. So I got used to spending cash. And then over the years, our credit's gone up and I'm over 700 again. And my debt to income ratio is better and all this stuff. But you have to go through those experiences to learn. And I made the same mistake back then. I was buying ads. If I would have known my numbers, I was buying leads on Google back then, spending upwards of $20, $25 a lead. This is back in the day, doing old pay-per-click. And my conversion rate, I didn't have a conversion rate. It was 0. So I was converting. I called 1,000. If you guys hadn't heard this story, I called 1,000 home-based business leads. This was 2006 from my college dorm room, had 0 signups. So, okay. So if you feel like you had a bad year in your Amazon business, I'm just trying to give someone some hope out there. I didn't know my numbers though. And I kept throwing money at the problem, saying, hey, I got to get more leads in. I got to get more sales. And I didn't solve the problem because I didn't know my numbers. So hopefully you guys can learn something from our experience with this. Grant, there's no perfect situation for this. When you guys are in a situation now where you're wiser, you're smarter, I believe God's using this story for you guys to bless other people. And so moving forward, man, I'm curious now. I asked you the question, what would you tell your younger self? How are you guys using debt now? So from this point forward, I know you guys, you've got different forms of capital that you have access to. How are you guys planning on using debt or leverage in 2019 and 2020 moving forward?
Right. We are using a little bit more debt this year than we have been over the last, I should say prior to October. In October, we went and pulled about $40,000 and added that to our base. Actually, it's probably more about $60,000. We just added that to our inventory budget. We've paid a lot of that additional debt back down through the last few weeks or a few payouts. But what we're going to do is we're going to carry a little bit more debt that we weren't really necessarily coming into Q4. I wasn't really planning on doing this in 2019, but just looking at the whole year and the things that we talked about on this call and kind of assessing what we want the FBA business to produce, we are going to carry more debt going into the next year. So that what I have is I have a private money loan. Okay. And then I also have a cabbage loan, and we rotate credit cards out. So as payouts come in, we pay down credit cards, then we go reuse them. And that's kind of like, what we're doing, the inventory wheel. And then obviously the debts, like, again, I have a portion of my debt that it doesn't reconcile with inventory. Okay. So I have probably 60% of our debt reconciles with inventory. The other 40% inventory value by cost. The other 40% is what I would call, for me in my business, it's bad debt. It's debt that I have to generate profit for to pay down, right? I couldn't liquidate my business and pay down that bad portion. And so we're going into a little bit more, but the part of the plan is, part of the overall plan is to do what we're going to do and then use this extra funds that we're creating, right? By carrying a little bit more debt into 2019, those extra funds will give us, an additional $5,000 a month that we can use to scale, okay? Because we want to be able to scale, or to pay down the debt, an additional $5,000 a month. That's kind of the position it's going to put us in, and so that's how we're going to do it in 2019.
Yeah, appreciate the transparency, man. This is it's a really personal subject for you guys. I mean, I know you've been in tears about this conversation, so I appreciate your vulnerability, Grant. We weren't planning on talking about this today, guys, and I think there may have been a greater purpose. Maybe God in His ultimate wisdom, somebody needed to hear this message and this conversation. I see. Let me go back here. Needed to hear this debt conversation. Thank you so much. So let me go back. I can't see who posted this comment, but thank you for posting that. Hopefully this was a blessing for somebody watching. I wish there was an easy answer to this conversation. I think the best wise advice we can give you guys is know your numbers first, and then be cautious. I would be cautious with that. Our personal goal is to have all of our businesses and personal debt free. I've got a vision for this. I don't know if we'll do it by 2020 or 2025. Sarah and I are in a different situation. I'll share that on a different call. And I'm glad we're talking about this, Grant, because we're making some important decisions with private label right now in the same capacity. Do you use debt to leverage for inventory or not? So, hey, let's turn the corner. We promised we'd keep this short and sweet. We just wanted to hang out with you guys. So if you guys are okay for hanging out with a couple more minutes, we want to bless you guys and talk about some of the future things coming down the pipe. And we've got a couple things, and we want to get y'all's pulse and see what will be helpful for you guys. So first off, we do have plans. I'm going to cast a vision for Cheddar. Our group we started this group, guys. I'm going to tell you guys a quick story and of how, this group started out of necessity. And we had have a coaching program called CAP, stands for The Apprentice Program. And we had 12 members, 12 or 15, Grant, I think 15. Yeah.
I think it was 15.
A year and a half ago. It was a private mentoring program with Grant and Taylor. It was not cheap to be a part of this group. It wasn't like a small mastermind. You guys met on a monthly basis and you had one-on-one coaching calls, and you got a very intimate look, Grant, into the lives of new sellers. And one of the main problems that we saw from all the members that have been a part of this mentoring group was access to product. People struggled to get access to products. They had another full-time job or a business that they were running. The Amazon business was the new thing on the block, and they were trying to figure out, how do I grow the new thing when I'm still have the old thing? And so if any of you guys are in that situation, comment yes below if you've been in this situation where you've got another business. So Cheddar was born out of necessity. And sometimes problems as entrepreneurs are our greatest signpost towards amazing prosperity. And I've found that to be in my life. So if you have problems, say, thank you, Lord, for my problems, please. And I would, this is a good prayer for the new year. Stop praying that God would get rid of your problems. Pray that he would grow you larger than your problems instead. Mm-hmm. So sometimes problems are here to shape us and mold us. All right, it talks about in scripture how, iron sharpens iron, man sharpens man. And sometimes you got to go into the fire, and God's working on us, chipping away at stuff. And that's where the problems came from. So Cheddar was one of these things. We started this list originally as a solution to help the internal members of TAP. We then released it to our top secret Amazon group. For those of you guys that have been a part of that community for years, you guys loved it. We filled up our first list, and the rest is history. So where we are today, we are about a year. I'd have to go check, Grant. Cheddar, we've been building Cheddar internally for about 2 years now. I think publicly we've had it released for about a year and a half. And as of today, we have Cheddar 1, Cheddar 2, aka Dos for our Spanish-speaking friends, and Cheddar 3. And they're all full. And we have a waiting list of close to 200 people on the waiting list for Cheddar, for the next Cheddar list. And we also have the feta, and there's a lot of great leads on the feta. Grant, you and I are going to have to talk about that because the feta is one of your favorite lists. And there's a lot of great replens on there if you learn how to source from the feta. The feta has open seats on it. But all of you that have been asking for Cheddar and you can't get on, we are investing back into our team. So as of today, we've grown our Cheddar team this past year. We started off with a couple virtual assistants in the Philippines and Grant and Taylor building the list. I think when we started, we might have had, what do we have, guys? Do we have just one or two or three when we first started?
VAs, I think we had, by the time we launched the first list, we had 4 at least.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we started with 4 VAs. We've scaled and grown. We now have 10 full-time virtual assistants working for you guys, full-time sourcing agents that are sourcing from the Cheddar. And one of our internal goals this year, guys, is to grow from essentially 4 lists. We have 3 Cheddar lists and a feta into a community of 10 plus lists. So this is our big, hairy goal. I'm going to share it live with you guys to set the intention. We don't know quite how we're going to do it. We know it's going to require a lot of hard work. We know we're going to have to invest back into the team. We're probably going to double our staff this year. We're going to find more creative ways to use the software that we're using. And one of the things that we're doing is we have pulled off our 2 best sourcing agents into a separate team. This is a new business team, and their sole job is going to be to conquer new territory for you guys this year. So, for example, right now they are working on sourcing a shoe list and working on reverse engineering a clothing list. So this has been probably 2 of the top areas that you guys have requested. I'm looking through the comments here, Grant. I see there's been some requests for a topicals list. I think topicals is an area that a lot of people are getting ungated, and we have a lot of topicals on the Cheddar. That's actually a big part of the Cheddar right now. And a grocery list, which I know we also have on Cheddar. So there's been requests for a specific list. I'm curious how much you guys would be interested in the gated list we talked about. So for top high-end sellers, and if you're a top seller and you don't want to post in the chat, feel free just to send us a message, and or any other categories you guys would want to see for a Cheddar list. So our goal is to continue. Here's one thing I've learned in business over the years is keep doing what's working. Okay, so the Cheddar is working. You guys, the Cheddar has been full. The list has been full. Our community has been growing. We've done very, very little advertising to grow this group. In fact, our advertising budget this past year is probably less than 1%. And we plan to invest more into our systems this year. And you guys have been getting the word out and sharing it with your friends. So we want to say thank you. That's why we sent out Christmas cards to all of you that are a subscriber. And if you're, by the way, if you're in the group, and you're seeing the people post about the cards and you're like, why didn't I get a card? We sent those cards out in little gifts, a little secret gift to all the active subscribers on Cheddar. So next year, this is a little plug for next year, Christmas season. If you want to be in on that, just make sure you're actively subscribed to one or more of our list. And we like to reward our subscribers. It's one of our favorite things to do. So that's where that came from. If you're wondering, if you're brand new to the group and you're like, hey, man, this group's awesome. They send out gifts to people and stuff. Well, it's to active subscribers. Okay, we're cool, but not that cool. You know what I'm saying? So this is a little bit of what's coming on the pipe. Grant and Taylor, I want to give a little preview too. Is it okay if I just I'm kind of spilling the guts here? Are you guys cool?
I'm all ears, man.
Sometimes you guys got to get this. I'm the visionary. So sometimes I come to Grant and Taylor. I'm like, dude, let's do this. And then the team's like, oh my gosh, how the heck are we supposed to do that? I know the VA think that for sure. This Gabe guy's crazy. One last little plug, guys. There's been a big request. One of the biggest requests we've had in the group is for more education. Okay, so I'm going to give a little plug. This is probably what I'm most excited about. The list will grow, and we'll keep helping you guys. But we've got here's another little word on the street that there is a Cheddar Academy in the works. Okay, and we are talking about a program, a course that is the most comprehensive online arbitrage business building course on the market. And what we want to do different, guys, with this course, this is not going to be a bunch of information. Okay, this is going to be less information, little bite-sized video clips of exactly how to build and scale from zero. I told Grant our intention for this course from zero to OA hero. Okay, that's our goal, from a 0 to a 6- and 7-figure business. And so we're going to break down really not just how to build an OA business, but how to build an OA business with freedom. Okay, so I want you guys to resonate with this message. One of the core values of our group is freedom, financial freedom, personal freedom, spiritual freedom. That's why we're open about our faith with the group. We want you guys to know the peace that comes from Jesus Christ, because it's not Grant and I, it's not Taylor, right? We've got a secret team member. His name is Jesus. He runs the ship, and he's got all the great ideas. And we want you guys to have the peace. When we freak out and get anxiety about where to go, we turn to him and we put the problems at the cross. Okay, so that's the big secret. If you guys want to know how to have peace in the middle of the storm, that's the secret. Okay, we're just the vessels of this peace here. So the goal of Cheddar Academy is to teach you guys how to build, and that's just on a side note, to have real freedom and to build an OA business, to scale, and to build a business that you could potentially sell one day. And so whether you end up selling a business or you graduate into private label or what that is, that's a little preview of Cheddar Academy. And so the goal of Cheddar Academy is to build out really a comprehensive library of, and not just online arbitrage, but also retail arbitrage, and really to give you the whole business model on a silver platter. So if you guys would be up for that, give us a thumbs up. Let us know if you'd be interested in Cheddar Academy. If we were to, it's a lot of work to build a course like this, guys. It's a ton of work. It's a ton of planning. There's a lot that goes into it. So let us know if you guys will be down for that, and appreciate you guys sharing here. Ralph says Cheddar Academy. Ralph, we might have to have you as a guest. We'll have to have some guest professors in the studio. Maybe we'll have some guest teachings. I'm not for sure, Grant, where this is going to go. Hey, anything you guys want to add, Grant, Taylor? I'm casting a vision for what's to come as entrepreneurs. This is part of the power is you get to like make a declaration of what you're creating, and then you get to figure out how to build it. And so that's what we do. And I'm sharing this with you guys so we can be transparent. I want you guys to do the same thing. It's important to make declarations for what you're creating in the new year. So Grant, I'll ask Taylor first, and I'll ask you, buddy. Taylor, and this isn't like supposed to be a plug for the new Cheddar stuff. This is just whatever. But what are you most excited about for the new year, man? We got a lot of projects going on here.
I'm excited to see us grow. I'm excited to see us expand our lists into more niche-specific lists, and to just continue growing our team. That's been our biggest joy doing this in this last year, is watching our team grow from 4 VAs to now we have 10, and really just seeing their knowledge build and become greater. And just see what it's like. I mean, it's exciting. I mean, it's exciting to see, these folks who we've never met face to face, not only have success in their job as lead producers, but also see their life being changed with the Cheddar as well. There's a lot of folks that we hear some really cool stories from our team. So I'm most excited to see us grow and to see the growth of our team, which with that growth, you will see growth. You will see better products, better leads. So overall, I'm just excited to see us more expand. I'm excited for 2019 and what it's going to bring. So,
Taylor, I love you, man. I love that you said that, to grow the team. I'm a people person too. I believe that people are we're the only currency that comes from earth and goes to heaven. We're the only currency, the money, the success, all that stuff that comes, but the people. So you're on the front lines with our team in the Philippines. So thank you for your hard work, man. You and our team, we've been working with them for several years now. These were, we had a core group. You guys had a core group of VAs that were working in your business for y'all's business. And then we basically loaned them to Cheddar. And now they've become the Cheddar, and we've got new hires coming on board, and they're teaching people, and it's really cool what's happened. And you guys don't see this in the group. These are like real people. They have dreams and aspirations. There's a member on our virtual assistant group that wants to buy a house. Him and his girlfriend, fiance.
Yep. Yeah. I believe they're boyfriend, girlfriend.
So there's some cool stuff happening in families. So you guys that subscribe to the Cheddar, you can feel good that you're providing jobs for people around the world. And that's a cool feeling. So Taylor's most excited about the team. Well, I'm glad you're excited about the team, Taylor, because when I have more ideas, you're going to get to go build team to make those ideas happen. So thank you for leading the Cheddar, man, and growing them. It really is a team sport, and it's not easy for any of you guys that have had VAs. It's not an easy, it sounds real sexy on the sales videos for the international job sites. It is not an easy thing to lead people. We're humans. We have feelings and emotions, and we get sick. And that's one of the benefits of the Cheddar, is you guys get the end product of the leads without the hassle of managing and leading a team. So Grant, what about you? Let me ask this, man. Cliff Notes version. What are you most, of all the things we got cooking, what are you, and again, this isn't meant to be a plug, so feel free to answer this however, but what are you most excited about for the new year?
I mean, the first thing that comes to mind, it's snowing in Wenatchee. That's cool. But one of the things I'm probably most excited about, I think, is going into Q4 next year with a better plan for Cheddar. I think, we kind of had the idea to, hey, we need a Black Friday list. We had that idea a little late, or I should say that conversation a little late. And so I'm excited about being more prepared for that, so that we can, again, deliver a better product than we did this year. I'm also excited about the Black Chat next year.
Yes.
Who knows what is going to really come of that, even maybe before the Q4 season, because we've had incredible feedback. I think Gabe and I threw the Black Chat in on the Black Friday packages. Hey, this could work. It was successful with Tap. Of course, Tap was a different dynamic. Let's see how it goes with a Q4 thing, with a Black Friday chat. And, some of the feedback we got was really great. In fact, I think an example would be, I think we had several people say it was so cool to hang out with the big dogs. Like, I'm a small dog right now, just getting started, but to be in the same room, essentially, because that's kind of what Black Chat is. It's like being in the same room with a bunch of 7-figure sellers. And you guys, some of you might look at our stats and be like, well, Grant sells a lot of product. Hey, we have Black Chat customers who sell a hell of a lot more product than Grant does, Grant and Taylor. And so that was really cool to it was cool for me even to be a part of that group And to have guys like Derek Wagner and Ralph Cochran who are just throwing out these ridiculously huge numbers. I mean, we're talking, I want to say 300 grand in a month, for, 4 to 500 grand in that range in a single month. So if you guys, I would just throw that out there, you guys. We're gonna be probably releasing the Black Friday bundle, and whatever we do put together, we'll be releasing that probably in October to be prepared, all the way through November, and to be able to be working with the team and working with our customers all through November, preparing them to not just preparing them for Black Friday, but preparing them for all of the Q4 season. And so I would just throw this out that if you have an opportunity, don't miss it. We'll throw some testimonials and stuff out there, but don't miss the opportunity part of Black Chat. I feel like that was probably one of the most successful endeavors that we put together this year. Obviously the lists were great and the lists are profitable. But the Black Chat, I think, was probably the most profitable for our customers, believe it or not. Leads are awesome, but there's nothing like having friends in this space that do it at a bigger level than you. So.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad we can talk about Black Chat. So for some of you that are new and you're like, what is Black Chat? So Black Chat is a group only. It was a private Facebook group chat. Is basically what it is. It's a group chat for everybody that purchased our Black Friday bundle this year. So we capped that at 55 people. Excuse me. And so Black Chat was a bonus that we threw in with the program this year. We put together the best Q4 leads package that we could build. These are leads that you guys, Grant Taylor, source directly from yourself. And then we threw in the Black Chat as a community, as a bonus. And the response in there has been amazing. And I didn't know if you guys would like this or if it'd work. It's kind of one of those ideas as entrepreneurs. We're just like looking for ways to add more value to you guys. And the response from this community, you guys have been authentic. There's been so much success that is happening in there, and education where we can all learn from each other. And so that's been a really cool thing. So we've been toying around with how do we promised to keep Black Chat open. It was a 2-month program, so through December and into January. So we're still in talks with the group about what's going to happen after that. We don't have a definitive answer. The original goal was just to close it down. You guys seem to really enjoy it. So if you guys want to stay in there, we may make an option available where you can stay in there. But the big point that you're sharing, Grant, is just to be prepared for next year. So we acknowledge the Black Friday list, guys. This was an idea we had about a week and a half before Black Friday. I called Grant, said, hey, dude, we're a leads business, and Black Friday's coming up. We could probably have some leads. And he is like, yeah. And so we called the VAs. We got them on, and they are so talented that within a matter of a couple of days, we had the architecture built for the list, and it's been a phenomenal list. So we get better every year too, guys. We're already thinking for next year, and we've got plans for us to get together virtually and or in person, me, Grant Taylor, our leadership team, specifically to plan out next year and get you guys prepared way in advance. So be on the lookout next October, for the Q4. We're going to go super early Q4. You guys are going to hear us talk about Christmas when you're in your flip-flops. And you're like, these pajamas is crazy. And I'm like, that's right. We're here. We're in the corner. So cool, man. Well, so Grant, you're most excited about that. Black Chat's been a tremendous success. I can't say anything better that you guys have said. I'm extremely excited for the team that you mentioned, Taylor. I love our team. It's a privilege to be able to work with you guys and all of you in the community. I'm probably most excited about, it's the people. Cheddar, we're a leads business. I'm a connector. It's one of my core strengths. So we're going to continue to find ways to bring you guys together as sellers. Black Chat was just one of those. That may look like a live event. It may look like smaller regional Cheddar meetups or some kind of way to keep you guys connected, because there is power when you run with the pack. Okay. And that's what that was our original vision for the OA Cheddar group, is to be a pack. And you got to have a pack. You got to have a family to run with. If you want to run with the wolves, you got to get in the pack. And so this business can be a very lonely business sometimes. We're all entrepreneurs. I know it's easy to feel isolated when you're in your home office. Like today, when this interview's over, I'll turn the camera off and it's just me. I can call Grant and we got a team, but we're all across the country. So we want you guys to feel like you're a part of a family. Hopefully you feel that way. And you guys are the future of this group. So we follow your direction. If you guys have ideas and desires and challenges in your business, we want to help you with those. That's what we're here for. So let me read some comments and then we'll wrap this up here. Ralph had a question here. RA Cheddar. So RA Cheddar in the works. We have a Ralph. So that's Man, Grant, he's just asking for it. So it's in the works, Ralph. That's going to be may or may not be an unannounced bonus with the OA Cheddar Academy group. We want to have a comprehensive RA and OA system all in one. So that's coming down the pipe here. Ralph had a question. Do you see yourself doing an RA list? We've talked about this. Grant, Taylor, it's not an easy thing to pull off because RA is very regional. So what Grant and Taylor are buying, like if we had a Ross list, for example, what you guys buy in East Wenatchee and the whereabouts of your journeys in Washington is going to be different than what I can find at a Ross here in Chicago. So what do you think about that, Grant?
I would throw this out there. I mean, Gabe's exactly right. One of the challenges with an RA list is it is a regional situation. What we're finding in our stores might be different than what you're finding in your stores. And what we don't want is for people to buy an RA list from us and to think that they're going to be able to walk into the store and find exactly what we're finding. We feel like, or I personally feel like an RA list is like leading a horse to water. Mm-hmm. Right? We can't spoon feed, the water, right? Like we can with OA Cheddar, because we can say, look, you can go to this website and you can buy this lead now and it's available for you. Most likely, if you're early enough, you can make a profit XYZ. Where with RA, we're going to be kind of leading you down, a path to successful RA buying. We can show you the types of products that we're buying. We can show you, the brands that we're buying, and that can help you kind of develop a plan for RA for your own business and to increase in what you're doing. If we did have an RA list, we might need to find some technicians to help us by going into, Walmarts and scanning grocery on a regular basis so that we can provide those leads, because that's something that can be kind of point and shoot, right? Like I can say, go to Walmart, find this can of chili, and you can sell a 6-pack of this can of chili for this much. That's the type of thing we might be able to do. So again, we kind of need some more feedback from the community. One idea that I do have, that we could potentially put together, but again, we're just at a crossroads of how to do it. I know there's another group out there that has, they have, I think, 2 different Facebook groups. One group is for like Marshalls and Ross, or Marshalls and TJ Maxx, and then the other group I believe is for like Ross, Burlington Coat Factory. And so they just focus on leads in those groups for those particular stores, and they're kind of just dropping those leads as they find them in that group. We could do something like that. Again, then we're talking about more Facebook groups and the whole thing. Here's what I would suggest, though. Okay, if we can express how an RA list can be used as again leading a horse to water, but not exactly to making that horse drink. What I would suggest is one thing we could do is we could put together a package like we did. One of the features inside of the TAP mastermind group that we had was every week we put together all of our purchases, right? All of our RA purchases into a sheet. All of the data was included, the totals and everything, and we deliver that to the TAP customers, the TAP clients. And so they were able to go through that and really get an idea of how we buy, right? And so maybe it's a 3-month segment where somebody comes in and for 3 months you pay for a 90-day exposure to how we buy, what we're buying. And that might be enough for a customer to take that data and be, okay, these are the things that I can buy for my store also.
Okay.
So we need more feedback. We need to collect more data from the group to see if that would be a good fit.
So there's some good, I'm glad we're having this discussion, because this is like hidden opportunity in our business. I mean, this is work that you guys are already, we've talked about this too. The reason we haven't, guys, is we haven't figured out, we don't want to release lists just to release lists. It's not about, like, it has to be the best. Our goal is to be the best lead list business in the industry. So in order to do that, we've got to give you guys high quality and keep the quality of cheddar on the up and up, so everything we produce gets better and better. So some great ideas here. Jamie said, what if you guys had a regional list? So I think that's one idea. We could break the country into territories, and we could have limited sellers for each territory. I'd be curious if we did that. And this, Ralph and Gary, we have 3 customers ready to buy the RA list when it comes out. So thank you guys for being first in line. If we did release an RA list, and this is hypothetical, I don't know how we could build this, what stores would you guys want to see? I guess would it be the discount stores? Would you want to see Best Buy? Would you want to see Walmart? What store? Or do you want to just say, hey, what stores Grant and Taylor find their goods from? That's cool with me. I'm curious. While that's coming in here, so based on territories, it's a second. Ralph says base it on territories. So that's cool. Ralph had a cool idea for the Cheddar Academy. He said we should strap GoPro cameras to your heads and let you get, and then have Kishi edit it down into how do you just get, real live in the trenches. We'll find some creative things. Grant and Taylor you guys that are newer to the group, they have a secret talent of vlogging that you haven't seen because they've been busy working. So we may or may not do some of that stuff in the new course. Any ideas, guys? What stores you guys would want to see? And this is an interesting idea, Grant. I didn't expect the community to say this. But we do want to be able to support you guys in RA for those of you guys and there's a lot of sellers. That's all they do. I mentioned I had a conversation with a $4 million seller a couple weeks ago, and it just blew my mind. He's got a team of probably 8 different sourcing agents, and they just clean up his area. I know another guy in my backyard, or not in my backyard, but in the Midwest. He's actually in Minneapolis area. He ran about a $2.2 million business last year. It's all retail arbitrage, and it's him and his wife. They do all the sourcing. So there's $100 bills. Just you can pluck them off the trees if you have the time and the team. So stores, Walmart, Ross, Marshall. I think we're going to get some of the standard answers here. Thank you, Jamie, for that. So cool, man. Well, we got a lot of stuff. Go ahead.
Like, for example, like during the main part of the year, so that people who are watching this can kind of get a frame. Like during the main part of the year, we're not buying full price retail at Walmart. So one of the things that we would probably not have on the list, at least during the better part of the year, is stores like Target and Walmart, because the only thing we are buying at those types of stores, those big department stores, is clearance. And everybody's clearance is going to be different. And it's also very concentrated and easy for people to source a clearance out. Go to the store, find the clearance, scan those items, right? Like that's the best advice we could give anybody to buying clearance. What we would be able to reveal to people is the type of stuff that we're buying at the price off stores, right? The Burlington Coat Factory, the Tuesday Mornings, Ross, PJ Maxx, Marshalls, and just so everybody knows, a lot of that's clothing. It just is. Like, a lot of what we buy is clothing, and so we don't want to give you guys a bunch of Nike and Under Armour leads, because all you really need to do is get approved to sell those brands over time, or you already are. And what do? You go to those stores and you scan those 2 brands, right? And Adidas, for example. Now, is there other brands in those stores that we could be sifting and sorting? Yes. Now, so I think what we would really need to do is, we would probably, the part of the problem again with RA is I have a niche, right? Well, I'm going to show you my niche. Some of you guys can't buy in that niche, or once you've discovered my niche, you're going to go there and you're going to buy like me, and you don't need an RA list anymore. If we want to create a product that's going to be evergreen, or something that people can use all year round, I think we would need to develop a team of people around the country, right, in different regions, like we talked about, that are all they're all contributing data. And we could pay those sourcing agents. Maybe it's people who are running their own Amazon store. They're doing RA. They're contributing their data for a fee, right? For a payment of some kind. And those are our sourcing agents for this new list. Right? I think that's something we could do. So maybe I'd throw this out there. So if you're watching this and you would like to be a sourcing agent for an RA list and be a part of our team that is bringing the data into the fold so that we can deliver a great product, then maybe raise your hand, and in that way also you could reach out, give us a private message or comment below. We probably could develop a team that could create something pretty great for RA.
So that's an interesting idea. This will be TBD. We'll continue. This seems to be a hot topic. If you guys would be interested, that's an interesting idea of having members of the community grant, just breaking the country into regions and saying, if you're already out there doing RA and you're in South Florida and you want to be a contributor, we could just allocate our sourcing budget, because we have a sourcing budget for each list. We could allocate that and just pay that out to you guys as the sourcing agents. That'd be a pretty cool idea. It'd be a user-generated list, and then you guys could contribute from the Northwest, because a lot of the stuff you guys find. So this is coming from... Give props to Ralph, and then we got to wrap this up, guys. If you guys are watching the recording, Ralph's buying $100K a month for RA right now, and he said he's doing it. Let me scroll up here. He's doing it with 2 full-time RA buyers. So give you some perspective on the type of volume you can put up with a small team. And Ralph does a great job. I'll give credit to Ralph, because he's a great leader, and he has a great job at team building, and that's a part of it. It doesn't have to be a huge team. You can have a 7-figure business with 2 sourcing agents. So he said in December alone, they're over 90K as of today. So today's the tail end of December. So congrats, Ralph, man. You guys have had a monster year. His challenge, and this may be an area for us to dig around, Grant, and as a premier member of the Cheddar community and one of the top sellers in the group, is his challenge is probably finding more profitable items. And Ralph's on multiple lists. Every time we have a new list, he's one of the first ones to jump on it because he just gives it to a team. He buys the asset, gives it to a team member. So Ralph, we may collaborate if there's a. We'll have to find a way. We got to find a way, Grant. If we got sellers like Ralph that need more product, we'll have to find a way to pool our resources and pull that out. So
I think we should drop a tip for RA real quick since we're on the topic. And I think Gary asked a specific question, some info on closeout for the year end Walmart. So I think he's talking about how do we take advantage of Walmart's clearance. I'll let Taylor talk about it.
Start making relationships now, guys. February 1st, Walmart is ending their fiscal year. So you have basically until February to start making some friends. That was our biggest success. Knowing that information ahead of time, and finding a store manager and talking to them, letting them know how serious of a buyer you are and try to work out those deals beforehand. Last year we had, it was one Walmart in particular that really hit for us. I think we were able to spend like $5,000 in one transaction with them. We got the entire store's clearance, whatever was clearanced, we got it for 50% off. So I was able to look at toys, the sporting goods stores, the electronics, didn't matter what it was. I was able to pull from all these different departments. Walmart wants to get rid of their products. If anything, each Walmart store gets a budget for markdowns every month. They're going to get their biggest budget right now. Before now and really before the end of February. So if you can build that relationship, make that connection now, you're going to be able to go in there and possibly work out a deal. It does take, you do got to work the deal a little bit. One of the things that I do is I'll usually tell them, look, this is, I can spend this much. I have, this much capital at my leisure to be able to use. And that will usually open up the conversation to, a Walmart manager needs to know how much you plan on spending because they need to know how much of their budget they're going to give away to you. And if it doesn't make sense for them to do that, then they'll just mark down everything and hope that it'll sell like it normally was. But if I'm able to come in there and say their budget's $10,000 that they can do markdowns with, I'm going to buy $5,000 so they can literally give me $5,000 or half of their markdown budget, but I'm going to take majority of their clearance aisle away with me. It makes more sense for them to do that than to mark down everything and then hope that it sells or mark it down a second or third time.
Sure.
The big thing though is they don't want to be stuck with that inventory at the end of the year. It makes them, it doesn't help their store out. It doesn't look good on paper. And really, they want their numbers to be as best as possible. And when I mean them, I mean the store manager specifically. They want their store to look like they're thriving.
So the time to make the best deals, right? And to have the most inventory available to you and to be able to leverage a deal. And this is for every month of the year, but it's that first couple days of the month, right? Because they've just got their markdown budget. They have a plan, but you can come in and kind of disrupt the plan by offering that, to buy a lot of product. And that's the big pull is I'm going to clear some shelves out to create space for you guys. I'm going to, this inventory is going to get damaged if it sits here for the next 2 or 3 weeks. It's just going to get manhandled by your customers. Let me pick it out before that happens, and the value of it's going to depreciate just by sitting on your shelf in the clearance department for the next 3 weeks, right? So you just kind of throw some liners out like that. I'm going to clear off space. I'm going to get rid of some of your. I want to help you get rid of some of your clearance inventory, stuff like that. Like try to figure out what or understand what the benefit is for them, and then put that in front of them, right? So that they're attracted to your offer.
And so keep asking them.
Let me ask Taylor. So when do they close their year? You said February what?
February 1st is the end of their fiscal year.
Okay, so basically February 1st is the end of their fiscal year. Grant, you're talking about a good time each month is to go in and talk. And Taylor, are you guys talking this strategy? I mean, you all should have relationships with the store managers, not at Target because they're not friendly to resellers, but we're talking about Walmart and some of the other stores. Taylor, are you? Who do you want to be friends with? The main store manager, like the GM of the store, or are you friends with like local department specific managers?
I mean, it's a mix of both. I have 2 people that I know that are store managers that I could go and ask for them specifically and have that conversation and be open about it. One of them in particular, the one store that we hit last year really well, I have a good relationship with him. He knows exactly what I'm doing. He knows, I'm up in front and honest with him, and he appreciates that. That's good for the big year end, but I've had a lot of success as well with department managers and clearance department managers. There's in some stores, and especially in the bigger ones, you have like one person who their whole job is just to walk around and mark down prices. And I'll smile and you create a relationship with them. They'll follow you around and you say, well, can I buy it for this? And they'll say, sure, or no, or whatever, which is really cool. I would start bugging people though right now, going and asking. The worst thing you're going to do is you're going to open up a conversation of not now, but when.
Yeah, and start the conversation with questions. Like that's people think, I'm afraid to talk to somebody. Well, pretend like you don't really, and especially if you're new to this, right? And you haven't done this, you're nervous, right? Well, just play your role. Your role is you're relatively new to this. You don't have to be like walk up and be like, I'm brand new to selling on Amazon, but go up there and ask questions, right? How does Taylor know what he knows? By talking and asking questions. And people love to talk about what they know. So go in there and say, hey, what's the plan for the markdown? I've been told that, in February February 1st is the end of your fiscal year and a lot of clearance. Is that true? Oh, it is? Okay, great. Well, who do I talk to about buying a lot of that stuff as soon as it hits the shelf? Who's the right person? Oh, go talk to Janet in the toy department. She's in charge of clearance also. Okay, I'm going to go find Janet. Hey, Janet, how's it going? My name's Grant. Like, build those comments. Like Taylor's saying, when you're in the store and you see an associate, start talking to somebody. Figure out who's important in the store, right? And then go find that person. And then you might spot them, remember their name. You can see the name tag. But, hey, you're the department manager, aren't you? I've been told to talk to you about – but it's not hard, you guys. Just go in there and say, who do I talk to about getting a discount on? I want to buy a lot of stuff. That would be the first thing I'd say. You have so much clearance on the shelf. It's crazy. Look at all this stuff. Wow, I really want to clear off the shelves for you guys, and I could be one of your best customers today. Who do I talk to about getting a discount if I can buy a lot? Just say that.
A powerful move is to be able to show them what you're going to buy. So normally when I'm going in, my intention is I'm going to ask for a discount on these clearance items. I don't go in asking for a discount first. I'll go and I'll start scanning things, and I'll start I don't put them in my cart. Maybe some things I will. But I'll start saying, okay, I know I'll buy all those. I know I'll buy all those. I know I'll buy all those for 50% off. So when I'm talking to that manager, I can point to their half a shelf full of these Lego products or whatever it may be and say, I'll buy all of those. I know I'll buy all of those. I know I'll buy all of those. But I've just started really looking, and it helps me to know what my numbers are beforehand. So if we could work out a deal like that, I might be able to take even, majority of what you have. And I never tell them I sell on Amazon. One of the store managers knows exactly what we're doing. I just say I'm a reseller, and that's usually as far as I need to go. If they ask where I sell, I just say I sell online, and that's usually good enough. I mean, they don't dig in much more than that. I feel like if you were to approach it and say, hey, I sell on Amazon, for some people who work at Walmart who are really loyal to the company, they might look at that as a bad thing because their biggest competitor is Amazon. Right. So, but yeah,
these are juicy tips, man. I'm following the comments here. So Ralph and a bunch of you guys are in the comments here. So, and I learned that this is a good tip. This is all like people one-on-one stuff. Gary Ray shared this. This is the last tip I'll share on talking to managers. But there's a powerful principle and influence called mirroring, where people are more likely to like people that are like them. It's just a human nature. So a ninja little tip, looks like my screen's getting faded here. Wear a blue shirt that's the same color blue as Walmart employees, and they'll see you as one of them subconsciously. And then when you go in, Gary Ray keeps a stack. So this is a plug for Gary Ray. Taylor's writing this down. Taylor's gonna go get a Walmart shirt. It's gonna say
Taylor steal a vest.
So wear a blue vest. Taylor's going to start sourcing in blue vests. So Gary keeps a stack of Starbucks gift cards in his pocket. So you buy them as a business expense, and $25 Starbucks gift cards. And those are Christmas gifts to all the Walmart managers. So it's a great little tip. That's another law of influence. These are not new laws. These have been around forever, but the law of reciprocity. So when you give a gift to someone, they're like 10 times more likely to purchase from you because they feel this compulsive need that I got to give back. I don't know what it is. It's just like in our DNA. So dress like them, talk like them, give gifts at Christmas time, be generous. Generosity always comes back tenfold, and learn to ask questions. Grant, your tips, there's no like magic script. I wish we could strap a GoPro camera to your head. Where's this comment here? I I wish we could strap a GoPro camera to your head, Taylor, and hear you talking to the Walmart manager. The key here is to be yourself and ask questions. So anytime, and this is a good life lesson, man, Cheddar is changing lives, guys, all across the world. We didn't know we were going to talk about some like human, this is sales skills you guys can use to enroll Walmart managers. And you can do the same thing when you go enroll an investor and buying your business. It's the same. You can mirror the investor. You can learn to talk like them and ask good questions. He who asks the questions controls the conversation. Okay. I want you guys to write that little nugget down. And that comes, oh, this book's not even on my library because Sarah had it at Christmas. So this comes straight out of How to Win Friends and Influence People by my man, Dale Carnegie. So if you guys haven't read that book and you want to know how to talk to Walmart managers, go pick up that book. It is one of the top 5, I'd say one of my top 5 business books of all time, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. He talks about these tips in there. But this is good stuff, guys. Ralph says, note to self, he needs to find Janet in the toy department. So let's see here. Relationships are key, says Gary Spring. Very good stuff, guys. Yeah, I wonder how many of you guys would be interested in just going with Taylor on a sourcing trip. I wonder if we made that available, if you guys would be up for that. But hey, we got to wrap up, man. I can hang out with you all guys all day. We got to get back to work. We want to get you guys back to your day. So thank you. I'll share this on behalf of all of us. Thank you. Sincerely, thank you for being a part of our community, because Cheddar would not exist if it wasn't for you guys and the awesome members of our community, our team. Clearly, we do some work here on our side as well, but it wouldn't exist without you guys. So Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. We've got lots of cool stuff planned for 2019. So if you're on the Cheddar, if you're loving it, there's more good Cheddar to come. So any closing thoughts we've already shared we're excited about, man? Taylor, anything else you want to share, buddy?
Not that I can think of it, guys. Other than just I hope you guys have a great new year. And thank you for everything. And hopefully you have a blessed 2019 as well.
Indeed, brother. Blessings to you guys, Taylor. Grant, any closing words, man?
No, I think I would just recap that the more you know your numbers, the better. Find somebody that's been there before you and build that relationship, whether you have to pay for that relationship in the beginning or not. I would say find a good mentor. And watch a lot of videos and consume a lot of content. But you guys, I appreciate you. Thank you for being a part of our community. It really is a blessing. I mean, it's almost, I have to pinch myself sometimes, be like, do I really get to, be a leader of a group like this of some awesome people? And we just appreciate the love that you guys reciprocate for us, and it affirms what we're doing. So praise us when we're doing things right. Let us know when we're doing things wrong, and we'll keep making sure that we're improving. Appreciate you guys so much.
Amen, man. Amen. So Ralph says, I'm putting on a red shirt now and sending me Starbucks gift cards. Hey, I am receiving. If y'all want to send me Starbucks gift cards, I am receiving. Shoot me a message, give you our address. Happy New Year to you guys. Blessings to all y'all families. We're in this for the families, so please enjoy time. I know it's really easy to get busy with the holidays, and we just rush the sellers. Take some time off, hang out with your families, go have a conversation with your uncle that you haven't talked to in a while, and apply some of these strategies. Ask your family questions. You want to freak your family out? Go into your New Year's parties and ask your relatives that you haven't talked to for a while. Start asking questions, man. Another awesome Webby. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all being on. So Gabe Strom, Grant Dunn, Taylor Dunn, signing off from OA Cheddar. Happy New Year to all of you guys. More good stuff to come. If you're watching this on YouTube, for some strange reason, there's probably a link below this video. You can get more information and join our little community on Facebook. So click that link if y'all are watching the replay on YouTube. Come hang out with us in the OA Cheddar group and get on one of our lists so we can send you a gift next year for Christmas. So love you guys. Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.